Yeah, so they've made strides with Bethel Area School District and the VOTEC in engaging them as potential partners, as a pool of potential lifeguards, and maybe a teacher as the pool manager would be the ideal scenario. Some of the things that we need to determine sooner than later, because we obviously want to start that advertising ASAP, is what is our rate going to be? Tweaking of the job descriptions, which I'll pull the old ones out tomorrow, and then I'll take a look over them, and then we'll send them out to you guys and see what else we want to tweak and update. What times are we looking at as far as open and close for the pool? So we know we're looking for the labor force. Apparently, unbeknownst to me, Mr. Zopka pointed out that lifeguards can now be 15 years old. Is the borough willing to entertain employing someone under 16 years of age? That you could open it to the 15-year-old age group. Will we pay for the lifeguard training? One of the things Mr. Zopka pointed out is that he intends to go to the trainer course, and obviously there are card fees associated. Red Cross always gets their cut, but above and beyond that, he wouldn't be looking for any compensation to run the classes. So that could reduce the cost from the $300 to $400, depending on where you look, to whatever the I don't say HA, those are CPR, whatever the Red Cross card fees are. So something to look at. We probably need to get a firm price as to what their cut is, which I can ask Allentown and get an answer really quick.
Yeah, my understanding was when we went through the Y, when they paid for us for the licensing 2 years ago, their cost is what they charge, is $350. So that's what the Red Cross charges them, and so that pays for your cards, for your certification.
Yeah, and that's going to be a cost. I mean, there's fixed costs which is not going to be able to get around. So that may be something as they look. If that's in fact the case, which most likely is still, those are things as they look to raise funds in the community, that perhaps that's something that fundraisers can offset. Well, and that's actually a great way to look at it. Allentown was able, anybody who was an Allentown resident who wanted to go and get trained as a lifeguard, City Center provided a generous grant to do that. If it's not a lump sum here, but that's a great idea. Something like a sponsor lifeguard, sponsor a kid to go get certified, and that would be great. One of the things that he had brought up, and I think is a great idea, is a contract in exchange for the training if we provide it. We've just switched to that in the new CDA for Public Works. We provide their CDLA at our cost, or reimburse them for it, and provide training. If they leave within 2 years, they have to pay it back. I think anything more than a season for a lifeguard is
right.
You really can't request more than one season out of seasonal employees. But I think we should definitely have something in there so we don't train people for free and they leave a month later.
Right, no, absolutely. We're going to train them, and then they need to work 6. We used to be open a lot longer, but with kids going back to school and the way the sports schedules work now and going back to college, it'd be pretty much beginning of August, 6 to 8 weeks is pretty much just the way the season runs.
Yeah, you could drop off in August.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do we keep?
Community that vacations in August as well. It used to be anyway. It always seemed like our start.
What was this like the third? Was this the third week we ran the playground through last year, and then Kayla went back to college that Saturday. So
about the same.
Okay. So we'd be looking at that, and then probably early. When's Bethel finish? Second week of June.
June, I think. Let's see. I think graduation is the 7th and 8th.
So that's early enough. So right after Memorial Day. So, looking at that and just kind of setting that and what we think the rate needs to be, I think are key. And then also, if we're going to host a train the trainer, if we have more interest down the road to get some other folks internally, like some of our lifeguards able to train, that should help defray, some of the logistics and potentially some costs. One of the things that they intend to do at the pool, if allowed, is swim lessons. So the question was posed, is that something we would charge for, or for free, and either way, it'll be requiring that you have a pool pass. So, you know, if you purchase a season pass, one of the perks could be that you get free or discounted swim lessons. Just some ideas out there. They also, go ahead.
Is that a season pass?
Yeah, so that would be, because otherwise, I mean, a day rate pass is previously $7. So, you know, season pass for the individual for a kid was, off the top of my head, adults were 50. I would say kids were 30. Yeah. So, I mean, you'd be looking at $30 for the yearly pass, and then, you know, potentially either discounted or free swim lessons for folks who would want to take advantage of that. There are also other activities like after 5 o'clock when the pool would close, you know, yoga, kickboxing, some exercise groups, Tai Chi, which I don't know how to spell. But some of the ideas that are kicking around, you know, obviously with council's permission, to try and utilize the property and get some more community engagement out there. He also spoke about volunteers to do the caulking at the pool, that they think they have a decent labor pool of volunteers. Also painting the pool building, which I think is a wonderful idea because it's in need of it.
As well as the cost of the property too, you be able to get out.
Okay. All right. Yeah, there's some materials as well. So, you know, as we previously discussed at council meeting, just as a point of information, it's about $300. Actually, it's exactly $300 for us to get insurance, volunteer insurance. So liability-wise, we're protected under our current policy. For the equivalent of a workers' compensation plan for volunteers, it would be cost us $300 for the year for the quantity of volunteers that we're looking at. I mean, it actually was like 150 or 300 volunteers for that money. So,
Glorious.
yeah, which again, it would be a problem I'd love to have, but you know, cool. So I think if council ultimately is in favor of that, in favor of that, it would just be the $300 to drop the bucket. We can easily do that. And that's probably worthwhile. I just haven't done it yet. We can amend the policy at any time with, you know, a moment's notice. Mary will take care of it for us down at Voice Shots. So,
Okay.
you know, so that's where we're at with, from, you know, the coalition's perspective. Just real quick from the borough's perspective, Jason's starting to solicit people to come in and look at the electrical, the plumbing. What we need to do is, and I can't think of the name of the company now, Jason's on his way to Tulsa because his kid's wrestling. But the name of the pool company that comes in, we're probably going to have them come down and give us everything that needs, you know, what needs it now to open and what's our short-term / longer-term things that need to be addressed, so we have an idea there from somebody who actually does that. So we're going to pay to bring them down to give us that idea and develop a scope of work that's within our budget for this year to get the pool functional. And then we're going to bring probably Westside Hammer Electric in to do the electrical work to make that safe, because there's some deterioration there of the hurdle we're going to have is ideally there should be a stainless steel panel in there. However, you can't even get them right now. They're probably 6 months out. So we're also going to be faced with the same challenges everybody else is with logistics of getting stuff. So, you know, again, that's where I kind of want to develop a plan of what can we do now to make it safe and functional to open for 2023, and what do we want to order in anticipation of future getting those things up to snuff for the long term.
Right. Okay.
Is the future going to depend on 2023, depending on how many people come in? I mean, because pool attendance has been dropping off for years already.
Well, I think the first year that we ever do anything new is going to be hit or miss, right? It depends on the weather. We have a summer like we had a couple of years ago that just rained constantly.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not going to great attendance. But also we're going to try some new programs, and that could be hit or miss, you know, because it's going to depend on getting the word out about those programs. But that's why we're starting. That's why we're starting earlier. Sorry, if anybody's watching online.
I understand the weather, I mean, that you can't control.
Right.
Because last year, a couple days, we had a thunderstorm, and the pool had to be closed for several days. But just in general,
So I think one of the things that the borough has to deal with is the changing demographics, right? We don't have stay-at-home parents much anymore. Most of our parents have two parents that work or a single parent family that works, whereas when I grew up, there was usually somebody home during the summer to bring their kids up, right? So we don't have that kind of attendance anymore. So that's something to consider. And we also have to consider the cost-benefit ratio and analyze, the cost of what it takes to get into the pool, and and who's coming to the pool, right? We want to make it safe for our residents, but we also, if our residents are not coming in the quantity that supports running the pool, then we need to consider that outside forces are going to come in, and that disrupts how the pool runs and functions and the safety of that as well. So that's all something to consider in the future. I think I want to take it and see how it goes, see what happens, see if we can even get the pool staffed, because that's the big issue. And we have a better, easier time getting lifeguards than even just getting cashiers. Like we struggled to get cashiers, and that's just sitting out front. Michael, the mayor, did it for 2 years, summers, and he pretty much worked every shift 8 hours a day because we had a hard time.
For years already.
Yeah.
Which you can't do anymore because you can't work.
Right, he can't work for the borough, so we're gonna have to have our residents or people who are interested step up. If we can't staff the pool, then this pool's not gonna open, and that's the end of the discussion. So that's the first step, is seeing where we are with staffing, and that will depend on what we pay. We raised the playground. I think I want to keep the playground, maybe for a new return, give them a quarter, 50-cent raise. But for new employees, I think we'll probably keep the same rate. But I do think that working at the pool is a little bit more of a liability issue for people than working at the playground. You have a little bit more responsibility, a little bit more safety issues, so they should be paid a little bit more than what the staff at the playground makes.
Well, and that's it. I mean, you're also talking, you're requiring, especially for the lifeguards, you're requiring certification.
Yeah,
So
special.
where, not taking anything away from the great staff that work at the playground,
Oh, yeah, at least.
but it doesn't require certification.
Right. Although it'd be great if they were first aid.
Kaylee's.
Yeah. But yeah.
So, and that's where, those things are beneficial to retain those people, like you said, it's the same thing with the lifeguards, and we certainly want to make sure they're out there paying a competitive wage.
Yeah. I know my son worked last year at a an apartment complex, and was paid $17. I think they started at $17 an hour. So I think we're probably looking at nothing less than that, too.
Yeah, and that's where my mind was. $17, $18 an hour puts them $3 above the $2 to $3 above the playground staff, and then the manager would be one person probably. We're paying Kaylee $20 an hour. Do we go to 25?
Yeah.
Because you're trying to attract someone who's either a college person or
like a teacher.
or someone looking for.
Which is what we used to have. We used to have.
Because there's a lot of responsibility with that.
Yeah.
And what we really need from a pool manager is someone to do schedules and all of those things and make sure there's adequate lifeguard coverage.
Yeah.
So you want someone who is trustworthy. Certainly you're going to have to pay for that in this later climate.
And then you also want to consider your head lifeguard and / assistant manager role, because you're going to have somebody there to cover the pool, acting as a manager while the manager's not there. Can't have a manager working 7 days a week, 8 hours a day. So, yeah.
Is it ours to use clearances or
Yes.
we need them as a cashier.
So the state has reverse course on some of those things. So, and I only know this because police officers and paramedics are no longer required, and firemen are no longer required to get clearances. Because what happened was the law was ambiguous, and you had municipalities like Philadelphia with 8,000 police officers who were paying for clearances, and so now that is not defined as regular contact with children, because it just occurs in the course of your job. So I don't know about the pool staff, but we did it for the playground. I think it's best practice. I think it's best practice.
Best practice.
So,
Yeah. And Max had a good current office as well. So, So I do think it's, they're working with kids full time, they're constant access, so.
Yeah, I mean,
And monitoring.
I think it's,
and stuff.
my point I
You
think
definitely
is,
want
I think it's best practice
Yeah.
to do that.
Are you keeping the fees the same?
Well, so that's the thing, is I mean, they are, I think we're.
I think I'd like to take a look at the fees.
We have to.
Yeah, I don't think the fees need to be decided today, but, or because, I do think that any rate that we consider needs to be brought before
I'm
council.
pretty sure Mr. Zofko said that to me, that the $5 we were charging was less than what it was when it opened. So, that is absolutely a steal. Yeah, obviously we have Hello Town rates to compare.
We have Hello Town Best on our.
Yeah, so that's a good start.
now.
But you're right, I mean, we're going to incur more costs this year. We ran over budget in the playground program last year. We knew that was going to happen when, we hadn't budgeted for those rates, but we knew we had to do that. Yeah, the hard part about doing a cost benefit analysis on something like this is it's all those intangibles you can't put a dollar sign to. So we know the pool's a loser. Like, I mean, I don't even need to open a year to tell you a cost benefit analysis, we lose money. The thing that you can't put a dollar amount on is the community benefit. So what we need to look at is all those things you talked about, and Mrs. Johnson talked about, is the attendance, the usage, how it's benefited the community, and truly is benefited the community. And then those things you look at, all right, well, we're losing money, but it's also part of your service to the community. So that's the hard part, is trying to put a figure to that. So that's why it's really hard to get a definite, like looking at it this year, here's my, if we don't do X, that we're pulling the plug, versus like I think we need to look at it collectively as a whole at the end of the year. Unless we get staffing, we just can't open it, then I think we all have a hard reality we have to face, even if we're paying good money and we follow through with all this advertising and the ignorance they need. So it's just kind of going to be a play by ear and handle the challenges as we go and make the decisions we have to make.
I think that should be the plan. I like the idea of having, we even brought this up a couple of years ago before COVID hit, we used to do some lessons, but having Aqua Zumba, having even parties after the pool closes, where people could bring in like a pizza and a cake, and you just paid for your lifeguard, so they would have an hour of swimming, and then have their cake and pizza and stuff as a pool party for the summertime. All things that we thought about doing, that we would like to do, but we don't have the staff, it doesn't really matter.
The ideal thing that would happen is we find someone like Kelly who really took the initiative to kind of take that playground program under her wing and own it. And now I think it's only going to be better. She has a year under her belt now. It's only going to be better this year. But even someone who's invested in a self-starter and would treat the pool the same way I treated her. You have an idea, like let's make it happen. Let's give it a shot. So. I think anything's on the table at this point, but again, it's contingent on, hopefully we get a staff.
She's going back this year.
She is coming back this year.
Good.
Advertise for.
I think a lot of our staff come back as well, so.
So I think for the pool then,
Did I miss anything?
I don't think
Please.
so. So I think, the times for opening and closing, we've had anything from 11 to 7, 12 to 7, 12 to 8. 12 to 8 gets a little long in the day, and it does start getting dark and a little bit hard to see the pool, even with the lights, because the lights don't surround the whole pool. So I do like the closing at 7. We used to do, after 5 p.m. is kind of a reduced rate, which I think we should do. I don't have a problem opening. I know we have a lot of residents, myself included, who like to do lap swimming. So if we did like an hour of lap swimming before the pool opened, from like 10 to 11, and the pool opens for general at 11, again, it's just paying for the manager and a card to be on duty while we're doing that. So I like those kind of ideas. I think it's doable. It's definitely doable. It's just the staff keeps coming back to it. But I think I'm liking the rate of 17 or 18 to start for the guards, $25 for a pool manager, and if we could do like a head lifeguard, somebody that has a little bit more experience, not just a first-time guard, and has maybe, done scheduling or some staff management at something probably around $20 an hour. I think that's a good start. I think it's a little bit more than what Bethlehem is paying, but let's get Bethlehem. We'll run for the money.
I believe that Allentown was up to 18 by the end of the year last year.
Yeah.
But I'll double check with Ryan from there. I think before we address the 15-year-old issue, I'll probably check with our labor attorney just to find out what additional hurdles there are for people under 16.
Mhm.
I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah, I was certified at 15, but that's the 1990s, so we won't talk about how old I am now. Okay, I guess we'll just open it up as we go through each thing. Does anybody have any questions about the pool or comments or anything you want to add or?
Well, I knew about the pool.
About the pool?
Yeah.
If you want to come up and state your name and address.
I can come up there, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Question about the pool. Ron Goosley, 634 Lackawacky Avenue. I'll spell it for you. But anyway, I bought a house here in 1975, and I've been here ever since. And my son Mike was 1 year old there, and now he's 47. But as he was growing up, that pool was packed. In those years. The only thing, my question is are there any restrictions on who can go to the swimming pool? Meaning, if you're from South Bethlehem, or no restrictions?
So we typically no. We haven't had it in the past. We did during COVID years, just every year that we were so short-staffed because we didn't have a staff to have hundreds of people come to the pool. So we did limit it, especially if we got to about 100, 150 people. We had to limit who came in because that was the max that we could have based on the number of guards. I would like to say no, but it depends. Again, it's going to depend on the staffing, and it's going to depend on mostly on the staffing. If we only have 4 guards, and 4 guards can only watch 20, 25 people, that's only 100 people, and we have to give them the opportunity to have a break every 15, 45 minutes. So that's only 3 people watching a pool and 75 people in the pool. So it all comes down to staffing.
Okay, well, the question was, if anybody can go there. Yeah.
It is a public pool, it's open to the public.
Because I'm sure if they find out this pool is open, it's open to anybody, you're going to get a lot of people there.
Yeah.
Especially from South Bethlehem.
Yeah, and the season passes are the only thing that the rates differentiate between resident and non-resident.
Right.
So daily admission is the same price if you choose to buy daily admission.
But I think that would be an asset, to get all these people coming. Quantity, but said staffing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
We do like to make sure that our residents have first access before.
I could come back.
Which is Bethlehem.
Want me to come back?
For pickleball, yes.
Yeah, you can come back.
Huh?
Yeah.
You can come back here once we get to pickleball. You can come back up. And I'll call you later this week when I need to spell Lackawacky for something.
Okay.
So I have a question about the pool manager qualifications, will that be posted?
Yes.
And then, about people being invited and then people that come, and then things so I think that, how do we look at strict pool rule, adherence, you know what I mean? So that people aren't coming in and, you know what I mean, repeatedly making it an uncomfortable situation. We have, a lot of people with small kids, and then a lot of people who come and they just talk like they're on a ship, you know what I mean? And sometimes that can get a lot, especially because we have younger kids that, really will shock you,
acting more and more like adults.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that, I think that would be really like a key thing to like kind of offer like anybody working to just let them know like we will back you up for this, you know, so.
Yeah, so that's one thing that I'm keen on as like in every job that I've had, whether it's at the pool or in finance, is being a manager that supports my staff. So I'm not managing the pool, but I oversee the rec committees with Eric and like, so we would be managing the pool manager. There are pool rules that are listed before you even walk into the pool area, and then they're listed again inside of the pool.
Yeah.
We can make those available and printed out, but no profanity is one of them.
Right.
You know, sail rounds do not belong at the playground, and they don't belong at the pool. So absolutely supporting our staff that kindly tells people, listen, you know, it's listed here.
Yeah.
It's before you even walk in the door. The same thing about having proper swim attire.
Yeah.
You know, wearing gym clothes to the pool is not appropriate. Sweaty clothes make it harder to have the pool function. It creates a lot of dirt and debris and bacteria. It brings a lot of bacteria in the pool. And I know there's a lot of questions about you know, religious attire. They do make bathing suits that are full coverage for women who may be questioning that, and they make swim shirts and swim trunks that women can wear or men can wear while they're in the pool as well. So those are some of the things that I've come across even in the 1990s and through today. But yes, absolutely supporting the staff, supporting them, enforcing the rules.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then, the other question I had was, is there a known like guard to patron ratio?
So there are guidelines within the Red Cross. I believe it's 25 or 30 per person in the pool, and that includes on the sidewalk as well. Because if an emergency happens that's not in the pool, but somebody trips and falls and cracks their head open, that still is taking the guard off the pool, and you know.
Okay, and then that kind of brought me back to another situation that I faced when I was bringing my kids. Sometimes lifeguards were, like, what if we have a lifeguard that isn't, like, you know, how do we handle that? Will there be some kind of, like, disciplinary in place?
Sure. So as a patron, if you have a problem with the guard, then that you should take that to the pool manager, the manager on staff, and then if you feel that you're not being heard, then come down here to Borough Hall. Or you can call me. Address it with Borough Hall, and they'll either get in touch with me or Eric can address it. He's pretty much the go-to guy, but I can help. As a manager, you know, if you're the pool manager and you're managing your staff, it's absolutely your job to, you know, coach them. And if it comes to disciplinary things, then that should happen. But that should only occur within the purview of council.
Right.
Like it wouldn't be your job to say you're fired, you know, or anything. Like all of that. But like any time that if we hired a pool manager and they had a situation with a guard that they felt needed to be addressed, like, hey, I talked to them about this at the pool, but I don't feel like it's being addressed, then we would pull everybody and have a meeting about that with the person in question.
Yeah, in my mind, employees are employees. So whether they're seasonal, like our playground and pool staff, or whether they're full-time here, you know, there's expectations of behavior and there's progressive discipline and corrective action for those that do not meet those guidelines.
That's good to know. I feel like I didn't realize that there was somebody to go to, and I was just kind of like, oh my gosh, these kids, you know, and so I kind of just like, okay, like, we'll just come back later or something, you know what I mean? So,
No, my management style is such that I empower whoever the pool manager is to handle the situation. If it rises above their level, they're not comfortable, or it's that egregious, you know, certainly then it rises to my level and then we handle it. And that's kind of how we treat the playground. And a lot of the issues that you're relating are things we battled throughout the summer at the playground. The same thing. I mean, people come up and use a basketball court, they're non-residents. They have no respect for the young ears that are nearby. They are not listening to our, you know, playground manager. So whether the police have to go up and address that situation, or I go up and address that situation, you know, we work through it. But yeah, there are recourses, and we're not verbally abused or physically abused by a patron, nor would we let a patron be, disrespected by an employee, so.
Good, thank you so much, I appreciate the answers.
Any other questions on the pool? So I think
The plan then moving, go ahead.
I have a question, change to lifeguards, what is the minimum amount you need, about 6, I believe?
So we operated, I think, gosh, we had 6 or 8 that we operated with. So that was bare bones, like, and I was doing quite a bit that summer.
To answer the,
Yeah,
to answer the,
it's 25.
so that is the Red Cross. Pennsylvania code is 1 lifeguard for every 4,000 square feet of water surface area.
And
So
then
you have to-
insurance says 25
Yeah.
swimmers per.
Yep. So you've got those 2 variables in there. So, 25 is your cap, but then if the pool's empty, you still need a lifeguard for every 4,000 square feet of surface water area to open a public pool, and that's Pennsylvania law. So there's just different variables there. So that's, again, it all comes back to staffing exactly.
What is that, like, equal to in the pool that we?
I have no idea.
We operated.
Jason, I can do the math. Jason knows how many
We
gallons.
only 2 guards, so,
Yeah.
and that would keep 20, we would have 1 guard, and that would be the main pool that was open, have 1 person watching, but we had 2 guards, so that we could switch every 15 minutes, because you don't want somebody at that constant, and you're getting tired, you get tired from eating the key, you get just tired from watching constantly, it is a draining job. And yes, that, we set that way, then if we only have 2 guards to open, and that limits the number of people that can use the pool that they have 25 people. Because only 1 person's on the pool, and that's all can be in the pool.
Another question, you need a pool man also, a lifeguard also for, we had, I think, people have suggested that we turn that into a splash pad.
I would love to be able to turn that into a splash pad. We don't really need as much staffing.
But then I don't think we need a lifeguard.
No, you still want somebody watching over the area just in case somebody, falls and is now stuck in bangs their head and now they're under something.
Water's pouring into your face, and you're not unconscious.
That's something you want to have somebody watching, but
But it doesn't
require as much oversight, but that's not going to happen this year.
I think splash pads are a wonderful idea and a wonderful alternative, but the cost, that's, you're talking a significant amount of capital there. So that would be part of the long-term, what is our grand plan for the pool moving forward should, we have success in finding staff and having patrons.
And then we can go after grants and have that done.
All right,
Well,
so.
anything else with the pool? I think we're good. Moving on. All right, moving on. Summer park program, I think we kind of touched on it. We have people coming back. We just need to, I guess, get when she's available to start.
Yep.
And
Yeah, so, and that was only going to be my thing, you had addressed it already, is, we look at getting everybody that's coming back a quarter more, and just, if they come back again, get another quarter, just to retain staff. But yeah, I'll reach out to her to get the dates. She's got an updated, registration form and, like a whole packet to give everybody, so we'll take a look at that, we don't need to do that today yet, but moving forward, but yeah, that's, pretty much, I'm just looking at, we're okay to roll forward as status quo and go from there.
that's great news. And then the park building and pavilion roofs, I know those need a lot.
Yeah, so they're in the 3-year capital plan, I think they're in 2024, so not this year, but next year. We had a conversation with Patricio from St. Luke's last Friday, so that was one of the things that we discussed with him, along with the pool, along with some of the playground equipment there, in addition to those safety things that I alluded to earlier, the speed limit sign and the stop signs. So all of that is on the table. If they choose to fund the pavilion and park building roof this year through a donation, then we will go ahead and do it this year. If not, it's on the plan. We'll have capital in So that's where we're at right now. The biggest hurdle we have with that park building roof is the kids that
Get
climb
on
up the
it.
back, and we've replaced the gutter and shingles in the back there when they climb up on probably 3 times last year. So that is a hurdle, and I don't know how we fix that, short of putting a fence up. But
Is there anything we can put on the roof?
well, we have a pickleball discussion. I'll tell you what fence costs. Fence.
Alright.
Playground equipment update.
So all of the equipment that was damaged either due to age, use, misuse, last year the tunnel, one of those, the snail or something. But anyway, all of that's finally arrived and paid for, and it has been installed. So council approved that transfer in December, beginning of January, December.
December.
Yep, so yes, it was December. So in December, we approved that transfer. That's all paid for. Jason and his guys with the mild winter have been able to get that all installed. So the playground is fully functional again. And again, that was one of the things we had a conversation with St. Luke's about is, do we go for a look down the future to try and get a soup to nuts $500 or $150,000 to $250,000 total redo of the playground, or do we do what we're doing now, where it's not in that bad of shape, and as we replace things that are aging out, piecemeal, we still have a functional playground, and we're not closed for a extended period of time while we do a redo. So I think that's probably the best course of action for the immediate future.
I agree with that.
Yeah, I agree as well, unless some kind of like miracle worker comes in and donates a bunch of money and says, hey, I want to redo the playground, and we go, okay, great, thanks for doing that.
Alright.
I think that's all great news, and so now on to what everybody's like, just waiting for a pickleball discussion.
So pickleball is not such great news. Only in that, I love the idea, but based on what Salisbury just did too last year, and based on what they paid for our guys to do the work, with the exception of the fencing and the epoxy surface, because it's a very particular way, and this guy does all the sports courts apparently, the whole eastern side of Pennsylvania. But that's with us buying the hardware, doing the installs, doing the blacktop, the base, everything. We're probably looking at $50,000. And again, that's our public works labor doing everything. Fencing is about half of that. Fencing is astronomical right now. So, yeah, chain link metal with the vinyl slats in it. So, I'm also waiting. I reached out to Allentown as well. He was guessing somewhere to the tune of $30,000 to $40,000 to convert a old tennis court into pickleball courts there. And that was with them doing the work internally. Regardless of which avenue you go, that's over the bid threshold. So unless we're doing the work ourselves in each of the materials, now the fencing, we'd have to find a fencing contractor that's on CoStarz, or just the fencing alone could potentially have to offer a bid. So those are the challenges with that. It's not. I also brought that up to St. Luke's. There's obviously a good amount of interest in pickleball nationally, and it's crazy. So I would love nothing more than to see that beach volleyball court that's unused turned into 2 pickleball courts that could be used. Again, it's just a matter of finding. St. Luke's wants to make that part of their community wellness initiative and donation. We'll make it happen. But in the short term, I think we need to look at, we're going to have a pool for maintenance again this year, so that's back on public works shoulders. There are still a number of alleys that we want to tackle like we did last year, and then if you add that project on, you're going to, that's a significant amount. I think the reality is even if we decide to move forward with it, you almost need to start that fall after the pool, and depending on how the winter is, get the base work done, and then come back in spring and finish it, or if it's like this year is thus far not on wood, you can keep working right on through. But I think if we decide to do that, that's as soon as we can really move forward with it.
Yeah, I think that's pretty accurate, and what I was thinking, just because you have to go out to bid, and we know supply chain issues are just affecting every single thing that we purchase. So, I can imagine that that we get to. So I don't think $50,000, and that's this year's cost, right? So if we put it off, then it's gonna go up, and if we bid the whole thing,
It's
that becomes
it's actually
prevailing wage.
last year's cost.
Okay.
So we didn't reach out for updated quotes, but just to get a ballpark idea.
Okay.
Yeah, and again, if we bid the project out, that's prevailing wage. Now, if we do it in-house, you could buy the fencing from a CoStar's approved contractor, and how much of that is material versus install, and then you have to look at I would have to solicitor look at whether we pay prevailing wage for that. But ultimately, the rest of it is just an accumulation of smaller costs. So none of those would be subject to go out to bid. And then if we're doing the labor, we're not paying ourselves for value. We don't have that requirement. If we do the work ourselves, we don't have to pay prevailing wage. So if for materials, you don't have to. There's bid thresholds. If we were buying material over the almost $23,000 this year, the updated bid threshold, then we would have to go off the bid. We'd have to put an RFP, unless the suppliers, CoStar's on CoStar's, so which is state cooperative, state contract. So we would look to do that if it when possible. I try to do that with everything because then it eliminates the bidding. And you're already getting, somebody from a reputable contractor or supplier that's approved through state general services.
Okay, so then I think that what I would like to do,
Well, I know we have people interested in pickleball here. Does anybody want any comments on it? Before, anybody?
Well, I will.
Yeah.
Can I, give you this year?
Sure. This is a pickleball for the slat that you already have to go over, where the, if it one pickleball court with it, for the volleyball. And this here says volleyball court converted to a pickleball court. So, yeah, in other words, if you were to do 2 pickleball courts, you'd have to go this way, which you wouldn't have the room, you have to make it big.
Yeah. Well, and that was, I did not be honest with you, that was the thought is, I'll always get you the price of the higher end. And, then, so if we shoot for putting 2 of them in, would be perpendicular to the existing volleyball court there, then, that's best case scenario. If we can only make one happen, then we make one happen list like this. My fear is if we put one in, you're going to have, there's places like Upper Mac at 8 and there's a line. So Granges, they're already talking about doubling them, so.
Well, we have 2 at the boys club, the Lions game, the Lions game. And their basketball courts, but they're on perpendicular to the court. Okay. But in this particular area, you can only fit one on, because of the fence. Yeah.
yeah, we're going
And
to
then,
do that.
right over there, I'm sure it's like, okay, here.
You'd say.
Yeah, so anyway, So, like I said, it's for seniors, and there is a system when people play pickleball. You're 4 people on the court at one time. Then people put either you have a whiteboard, and you put 4 names on it, and they will go in next. The other people have to come out, so you have to organize it that way, but we do it ourselves. Another way they do it is you put your paddle on the fence, and if there's 4 paddles, those 4 people go in, not a whiteboard. So, and then whoever's there, and they're by themselves, they can play as much as they want. But when people find out you can look at all for it, it's gonna be.
I like the idea of, we've got a playground or a park that we're taking care of. No one's playing beach volleyball, so to be able to repurpose that to something that's going to get used, I'm all in for it. So again, I think that's, I speak for everybody here that's love to see it.
Is that, another issue as far as you have to leave from Fountain Hill, or?
We can't. There's no-
We can't, yeah. Alright. Okay, that's why I was here, and I see everybody's on top of it.
You shoot your bush.
Who?
You shoot your bush, or what you can
Your alley.
Whoa, there's no bush on it now.
Oh, it's a seasonal one.
Yeah.
So then moving along, so we keep this on track, so we got.
We'll let you know when that bush is.
Alright, very good.
So then what I think with the pickleball court is we'll wait and see what St. Luke's decides to do, and then we can either grant out, try to find a grant, recreation grant, we could probably find to get the cost for that, or, we can ask the coalition to do some fundraising and, put in a fundraiser for your pickleball court and, I think that's, but yeah, I think we should be able to get away with the grant if
Well, there's nothing to say that, we can't ask for, we'll probably ask to finish Jeter next year for worst case scenario, we'll probably ask for Jeter for CDBG money, but you can put multiple requests in, and, if you put a request in and they've got some, this is obviously a smaller cost than what we're talking about for total reclamation, or a pool. I mean, the pool would be, and here's the thing, I think it's a little bit easier to, you're not charging for pickleball, so it's a little bit easier to say it's already in a low lottery income census tract, that it benefits, it would meet the burden of that, where I think you have a challenge with the pool is, we're collecting for it, you're taking grant money for low lottery income, and then you have to show that those people that are coming in are benefiting from it. Well, the whole community can benefit from a open pickleball, just like playgrounds, just like the rest of the parks, so.
Okay. Anybody else have any comments or questions or anything off the agenda for the recreation committee?
Just, you mentioned they had pickleball courts in Salisbury Township that used it.
We did, so Salisbury Public Works did them. I don't remember where they're at. I don't know if they're at Franco or over at Lindbergh, but I can find out.
Oh, you mean the behind school?
No, Franco's the one up on top, Franco Farm, and then Lindbergh's over off Lindbergh Avenue.
Okay.
So those would be my two guesses, or Lawlock, but Lindbergh has a bunch of tennis courts, so I think it was a conversion there from either basketball or tennis courts to pickleball.
Right. Okay, thanks.
Well then, if that's that, then I think that's it for the recreation committee, unless Phil, do you have anything else? Alright, then I think we have some good ideas, I think we have some costs to take to council for lifeguards, and the, pay for the park program, we just gotta get dates for that, and then we have some good direction to head for next month's recreation committee meeting. So we'll do this again in February.